Football is the most popular sport in the world. We all think we know it. 2 goals, 1 ball, 11 players on each side. But in reality, the real rules of football are gathered in an official book, The Laws of the Game, published every year by the IFAB, the International Football Association Board, a document of more than 200 pages filled with details most people have never heard of. Today, we're going to look together at some of the strangest and sometimes completely absurd rules in football. This is probably one of the most well-known rules in this video, but it's also the one that was changed the most recently. For years, a goalkeeper wasn't allowed to hold the ball in their hands for more than 6 seconds. If they exceeded that limit, it was an indirect free kick inside the box. But in reality, referees almost never called it. So the rule existed, but it had become almost theoretical, except in video games like FIFA. Then in July 2025, during the Club World Cup, the IFAB decided to change it. From now on, if a goalkeeper holds the ball for more than 8 seconds instead of the previous 6, it's no longer a free kick. It becomes a corner for the opponent. A sanction that's much simpler, much more visible, and one that could seriously change the way goalkeepers manage the end of a match. It's impossible to score an own goal directly from a free kick or a throw-in. If a player tries to play the ball back on a free kick and it rolls straight into their own net, it's not a goal. In that situation, it becomes a corner for the opponent. A famous example, in 2002, Aston Villa were playing Birmingham. Olaf Melberg took a throw-in back toward his goalkeeper, Enkelman. Enkelman completely miscontrolled it, and the ball ended up in the net. The goal was given, but only because the goalkeeper barely grazed the ball with the tip of his foot. We often think a player must leave the pitch if his coach decides to substitute him. But that's not actually true. A player can refuse. Famous example, the 2019 English League Cup final. Maurizio Sarri wants to replace his goalkeeper Kepa. Kepa signals that he's staying and refuses to come off. Sarri explodes with anger, but the rule is clear. A substitution cannot be forced. A rule that gives players an unexpected amount of power, even if, in most cases, it creates a massive awkward moment inside the team. A team can finish a match with 9 players, 8 players, or even 7 players. But below 7, it's over. The referee is required to stop the match, and it doesn't depend on the score or the time remaining. What happens next depends on the competition. In some leagues, the team at fault loses by forfeit, 3-0. In others, the score at the moment of the interruption can be kept. In 2002 in Brazil, a match between Atlético Mineiro and Flamengo was stopped because one team dropped to 6 players. Red cards, an injury, and no one left to keep things going. And for FIFA video game fans, this will probably bring back memories. When you picked up too many red cards, the screen showed match stopped, defeat by forfeit. The goalkeeper is the only player allowed to wear sweatpants. The reason is simple: protection. A goalkeeper dives on pitches that can be hard, frozen, or uneven. Wearing long pants helps prevent burns, scrapes, and also provides a bit of warmth. Outfield players, on the other hand, must wear shorts, a jersey, socks, shin guards, and proper football boots. Wearing running shoes, for example, is forbidden. It's written clearly in Article 4 of the Laws of the Game. Every player must be easily identifiable, and no one is allowed to wear anything that could make them look like the goalkeeper. A memorable example involving sweatpants happened at Euro 2016 in France. Hungary's goalkeeper, Gabor Kirali, became a viral sensation for playing in gray sweatpants, and it even turned him into a bit of a cult legend. In football, if an outside object influences the action, the referee must immediately stop the game. It can be an extra ball, a drone, an animal, or even a beach ball. In 2009, Darren Bent scored one of the most improbable goals ever while playing for Sunderland. His shot deflected off a beach ball thrown by a spectator and ended up in the net. The goal was allowed, but in reality, it should never have counted. The law is clear. If an outside object affects the ball, the referee must stop play and restart with a dropped ball. Today, with VAR, a mistake like that would almost certainly be corrected. We often think the referee only has authority between the kickoff and the final whistle, but in reality, his power begins the moment he steps onto the pitch and lasts until he leaves it completely. A player can therefore be sanctioned before the match, during the warm-up, or even afterwards in the tunnel or the dressing rooms. Famous example, Patrice Evra in 2017, before a Europa League match between Marseille and Guimarães, he was warming up with his teammates when some Marseille supporters started insulting him from behind the barriers. Evra snapped, walked over, and delivered a kung fu-style kick to a fan. Red card before the match even started. Result? Evra didn't play a single minute of that game, and his career at Marseille effectively ended with that incident. The famous back pass rule. The goalkeeper is forbidden from handling a deliberate pass made with the foot by a teammate. But some players have tried to get around the rule. For example, by juggling the ball from foot to head before sending it to the keeper so he can pick it up. That's illegal. Result, indirect free kick for the opponent and a yellow card for unsporting behavior. Why was this rule created? Because in the 1980s and early 90s, teams abused the back pass. They killed the rhythm of matches by constantly sending the ball to the goalkeeper, who would pick it up with his hands and waste long seconds. In 1992, the IFAB decided to ban this tactic for good, and it completely changed modern football. Since then, goalkeepers have had to play with their feet. Offside is the most famous rule in football. The hardest one to explain to friends who don't know it, but it doesn't apply everywhere. According to Law 11 of the laws of the game, it is impossible to be offside from a throw-in, a corner, or a goal kick. That's why a striker can stand right next to the goalkeeper on a corner with no problem, or even inside the goal. And why Rory Delap's famous long throw-ins at Stoke City could never be flagged offside. These small exceptions completely change the tactics, and some defenses forget to take them into account. You score a goal, pure euphoria. You take your shirt off, you provoke the crowd, you get a yellow card. All perfectly normal, but be careful. If the goal gets canceled afterwards, the card stays. It's a double punishment. No goal, but the sanction is still there. And some players have learned this the hard way. A rule that feels unfair, but is written clearly, black on white, in the laws of the game. No, you can't score directly from a throw-in, even if you've got insane arm power. The ball can fly straight into the net, but it still won't count. If it ends up in your own goal, like we saw earlier, it results in a corner for the opponent. If it goes into the opponent's goal, it's a goal kick. A penalty seems simple. You shoot, you score, or you miss, and if the ball comes back to you, you finish the job. But there's a catch. If your shot bounces back off the post or the crossbar and comes straight to your feet, you're not allowed to touch the ball again. Only another player can play it first. Otherwise, it's an indirect free kick for the defense. Another subtle penalty detail seen with Jean-Philippe Mateta. During a match between Crystal Palace and Manchester United, if the taker shoots and the ball accidentally hits another part of his own body, the penalty must be retaken if it went in. But if the taker missed the penalty, play simply continues. You think that on a free kick, you have to wait for the wall, the referee, and that dramatic whistle? Not at all. If the referee hasn't stopped the game to give a card or reposition the players, you can shoot immediately. That's what we call a quick free kick. Thierry Henry, Rooney, and Messi have all used it more than once to catch defenses off guard. But this rule sometimes creates tension. Many players want to play quickly, while the referee prefers to slow things down to speak to the opponents. Result, free kicks blocked, and attackers frustrated that they can't take the defense by surprise. Last oddity, offside for a player who is outside the field. An attacker who voluntarily steps out of the playing area or who re-enters the field after receiving treatment is still considered to be standing on the opponent's goal line. In other words, you can't disappear behind the net and then suddenly pop back in to score. It's rare, but it has already happened in amateur football. Among these rules, some are funny, others feel unfair, but all of them truly exist in the official laws of the game. Which one surprised you the most? Tell me in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on the latest videos. See you soon.